Thank you, Clara, Maite, and Xavi for the opportunity, and welcome everyone to our next panel called The Role of Systemic Social Entrepreneurs, the World of Changemakers. In this session, we will explore, as Clara said, the truth behind the so-called systems change or systems innovation. It is not a myth, it exists, it happens, it's right here next to us. And we will try to really unleash its truth and potential during the next minutes. And so we often refer to systems change as any change that does not stay at the symptoms level, that really goes down to the root causes of a problem. In systems innovation, scaling usually happens beyond your organization, and it happens when you influence other actors in the field, no? To think differently, to act differently. And so when we talk about systems change, we not only measure the direct impact of our organization, and I think Jack explained it beautifully, but also the impact that we have in an indirect way, right, beyond our organizations. And so obviously it is easier said than done. It is a very complex and sophisticated type of impact. And that also requires very sophisticated ways of collaborating and generating influence. And so for the next 20 minutes, we want to hear the truth behind this concept of systems change. We want to hear the untold stories, the personal stories, the failures, very importantly. We want to hear the failures of three people that are systemic entrepreneurs. And for that, let me introduce you to my fellow panelists, who are the crazy guys and girls behind this idea that Steve Jobs mentioned. You mentioned the quote before, Clara. And so we have with us Fiori Zaferopoulou. She is an academic and a social entrepreneur, and most importantly, a fighter of human rights in the textile industry. She is the country coordinator of Fashion Revolution in Greece and the founder of SOFA. It's spelled with double F, and I really recommend you check out her project. And she's connecting now from Athens. So it's great to see you, Fiori. Welcome to the panel.
Thank you.
We also have
for having me.
Great. Sorry, I hear you with certain delay. But we also have Jose Mari Luzarraga, who is someone I have the enormous pleasure to work with on a daily basis. He's the co-founder of Mondragon Team Academy, which is an educational movement basically empowering change makers around the world through the concept of team entrepreneurship and shared mission. And I believe Jose Mari is connecting from Barcelona. Bienvenido, Jose Mari.
Un placer estar aquí.
And then we also have Jack Sim again, who's here, who stayed here with us, who you just met in the previous session with Clara, and I believe he's calling from Singapore, and I believe it's almost midnight for you, Jack. So really thank you for joining us. Great. So enough of me talking. Throughout the session, we will be asking you to ask any questions in the chat box, and we will be also posting also some polls in the chat box, and feel free to reply there directly. So we will start with our first question, which is a practical one, and I believe we all need definition and practical concepts also in a very theoretical world. So on your opinion, what do you think, or how would you describe is collaborative systems change? And most importantly, why now systems change? Why is it important given the current global climate and pandemic crisis that we're living? Maybe Jose Mari, we can with you, and then Fiori and Jack.
Hello everyone, real pleasure to be here. Maybe, I don't know, maybe with this idea that Alexandra, you were inviting us. Okay, what is the non-told stories, or maybe this side that usually we don't say in a big conference? I would say from a personal experience, I think that many times when we actually try to embrace system change, something that might be there is that we are not aware of our personal ego, or even our organizational ego. while presenting it. I think that's something that is very important. And I think after listening to Jack, is very important is that actually when we are embracing system change, as social entrepreneurs, many times we might not be someone egocentric, but we might be someone that we are sometimes too much in love with our own project. We are so much in love, but we can only see the reality with our own eyes. That in one way is something positive, but in the other way, really see the system. When thinking on system change, and usually through mistakes, is actually that we try to re-understand how does the system work without us. How do we learn to be small? And I think Jack on that maybe can inspire us later how he built World Toilet Organization, trying to become as small as possible. And I will say in some moments even invisible, because actually is with our aim of the value proposition that we have for the system is only when we are able to see the system by itself, when we actually are able through the invisibility to really help and empower the system to grow, to change, and I think this might be one of the ideas that many times, and especially entrepreneurs, they have clear, and social entrepreneurs, we are so much in love with what we do and so much in need of justifying and making grow our project, our venture, so much in love that we diminish the opportunity and we are the only limitation for the system. Many times it's in the name of our organizations. We cannot see the system with us. Even sometimes it's our brand. We need to put our brand in every place instead of actually trying to be invisible while creating the impact. Maybe this will be one first idea about what does it mean to be system change. And many times when we talk from ego to eco, I would say going invisible and small.
Fiori.
Okay. I'm going to talk about a very specific issue caused by the fashion industry. So we're living in a climate emergency, and the fashion and textile sector are the most polluting and wasteful industries. Imagine that fashion is the biggest driver to the microplastic particles in the oceans. So because of fashion is the driver of 35% of microplastic in the ocean. 60% of all our clothes is made of polyester, which is a simple plastic. Apart from that, we are living in an era that in humanity we've never had more slaves than we have today. There are 25 million people living under conditions of slavery. 1 out of 4 are children, and the average age of enslavement is 12 years old. Fashion is the second industry that's the driver to human trafficking, to modern slavery. Apart from that, we as consumers have consumed 50% more than we used to 14 years ago. We keep them half the length we used to keep them. So imagine the waste that we're creating. Approximately the moment the truck filled of textile and clothing ends in landfill. Therefore, as you understand, we need to change and disrupt the way fashion is being produced, sourced, and consumed. So we need to revolutionary change the way that we do that. And the only way to implement this change and to break the system is if we all come together, and that's what Fashion Revolution does actually. We bring together from the farmer to the final consumer to talk and to collaborate in order to bring the needed change.
Beautiful, Fiori. That's at the essence, right, of systems change, is new ways of radical collaboration. Jack, why systems change now?
I think now there is a 5G phone network. And with that, the computing power is going to be very fast. And in the past, people are trying to be a hero, working alone. And when you work alone, you have a limit. And once you reach the limit of the impact, you become the obstacle to your mission because you cannot grow further. You are blocking your own mission. Whereas if we have changed from trying to be a hero to be a partner, to be a facilitator, to be one of the group, then we think about the mission as the guiding boss of all of us. Once we are able to do that, we suddenly realize that the collaboration is everybody do their part. Just imagine we are a forest and I am a deer and Jose Mari is a lion and Fiora is a giraffe and somebody else like you is an elephant. And everybody is different, but together with the trees, with the rocks, with the river, with the big and small animals and the plants, we form an ecosystem. So each of us will have the combined strength to make the forest strong. So when we first think about a system change, we have to think of a very, very big problem. A problem that at least is 100 million or 1 billion or a few billion impact. So this type of problem you can never solve by yourself. Look for a very big problem. For example, sanitation, 2.5 billion people don't have proper toilet. Poverty, 4 billion earning less than $8 a day. Or 1 billion people don't have electricity, or 800 million people don't have clean water. This kind of big problem. When you have a very big problem that is impossible for you to solve, you start looking for partner because you create a vacuum that sucks everybody in. Then when everybody comes in, they come in from their own special expertise. So what happens is that you incentivize each of the person until their collective selfishness becomes selflessness. Why do I say collective selfishness? Because everybody only know the thing they know. So they want to do more of what they do. So you say to them, for the same effort alone, you will get 100. But together, you can get 300, 400, 500 for the same effort. Because if I'm distributing for you and you are distributing for me, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We suddenly have more distribution channel just by coming together.
That's beautiful, Jack. And so when you talk about this collective selfishness becoming purely selfless, do you refer to a more type of feminine leadership? Because we've heard also many times Jose Mari talking about this concept of service, no? Of leadership being an act of service to the community. And we just heard him also talking about him becoming small, no? And the organization becoming small. How do we reinvent this model of heropreneurs into a way that really celebrates this more ecosystemic type of leadership?
Yes, you are very familiar with this, everybody, because your mother takes care of the family. And when your mother gives birth to you, she doesn't have a business plan. What is the budget? What's the lifetime projection cash flow? She just have a vision that the family will be healthy, educated, good career, no drugs, no gangsters, and everyone is happy and successful. Now, the mother does not claim the credit for the success of the family. The mother facilitates everyone. So this is the spirit everybody have to follow. Help the family, help the nation, help the planet to become successful and don't need to claim the credit. If you go to the forest, Mother Nature is invisible, but it is a balancing force that made all the plants and animals exist and survive for so long. The power of Mother Nature, another mother, is feminine. And then the last is the internet. The internet facilitates all of us to do our work, but you don't know who owns the internet because this is a facilitation. Again, the internet is feminine. You can see feminine society, feminine philosophy is about facilitating, servicing, helping. Whereas the masculine one is about winner and loser. Every time you create a winner, you create so many millions of losers. That's not a good philosophy. We have to move from masculine society to feminine society. Not female or feminist. Feminine. It is, can be a man, can be a woman to subscribe this feminine philosophy.
And in philosophy and also maternal, no? In some way. Jose Mari, Fiori, what do you think? What type of leadership do we need in this system's level of impact?
Maybe building on Jack, I think that's something that is, I think the traditional entrepreneurship is too much on this heropreneurship. And I think now that we are creating space for impact-driven ventures and for social entrepreneurship, we really need to embrace the capacity of leading. But actually, as Jack was sharing, we need to enjoy the saddle. I think that's something that is very important is like becoming a successful entrepreneur, system entrepreneur, social entrepreneur. It's not about being always in the light. It's not about taking as much sun as possible, being in the front line, but actually it's learning to enjoy how it's been in the saddle, how the trees next to you grow bigger, taller, and you enjoy the saddle of seeing that other people, other entities, other organizations are growing next to you. I think this idea of not getting the credit is about enabling that the way to transform and to lead and impact the system is by enjoying the saddle, embracing being invisible and really enjoying it, because we have been trained to train the tree who takes, but actually in that way we will be always blocking how the system can grow. While when we enjoy being in the saddle, with the freshness of the saddle, more quiet, more invisible, then is when actually the power that we have to really enable to create, empower, everyone to be an active player, everyone to grow, every organization to grow with you, to bring your idea, to copy it, to bring to another level, to replicate what you're doing, to transform, to put their brand, to be in another level. I think that's the moment when actually, when you look back, then you see that a lot of these small moments that they have been able to restore agency and taking empowerment, those organizations are the ones who actually are changing the system. And no one is going to give you the credit, but at least you enjoy to see that the change has happened. And this should be more than enough, for enjoying. Maybe something for me very crucial on this, and maybe from the mistakes, many times why we haven't really enabled others to play with you, with the idea that somehow you grow, with the system you grow, with the value proposition you grow, at least in my personal experience was linked to the leading thoughts. Actually, you say, okay, are they going to be using, in our case was linked to education, this educational transformation to empower youth to become team entrepreneurs and change the world? Are they going to be using according to certain values? And that has been the contradiction. You say, you empower them, but how much are they going to be using to really betray the original idea? There, I think that we as system leaders, we need to really embrace what might be this, as Jack was sharing, which is that bigger issue that we are addressing, or as Fiori was saying, which is the big problem of the system, and which will be the values that we need to use in order to transform. As long as we are sharing values and a shared purpose, then I think that being small and invisible will enable, and serving the system without any credit will be the best way to really influence it.
My opinion, and it's very important, the issue that you raised, Alexandra, is all this phenomena that we see, human trafficking, the pollution to the environment. I think that what they demonstrate is that there is a disequilibrium in the universe right now, with the male power being the predominant power, and there is a truly lack of female power. To me, women empowerment is what we need. But when I talk about women empowerment, I don't mean about women getting more job positions in a male-centered world. I urge women to connect with their female power, to connect with their true strengths, and these strengths are like intuition, healing, patience, emotionalism. Women are caregivers, their sensibility, their wisdom. So if a woman connects herself with these strengths, then they will create new organizational forms, new divisions within their companies, new roles in policy making, and these are the roles that Earth needs at the moment in order to bring back an equilibrium and in order to address these pressuring issues of human trafficking and the pollution to the environment.
So you just talked, the three of you talked about these new types of leadership, about these new avenues, no, of systems impact. But you also mentioned, Fiori, this new disequilibrium, right? And we can see it every single day and outside of our homes. What would you say are some of the current practical barriers that you see to this type of impact in your work every day today? Maybe we can start with Fiori and then Jack and Jose Mari.
I believe in the power of the individual. So I believe that the biggest barrier is us. Is our paradigm, is the way we live our lives, alienated one from one another. So I think that what we need to address is to address a holistic way of living, and to be, what I'm seeing is that there is a big change happening. I'm saying that millennials, but even more Generation Z, they have a new conscience. I see them caring about the pressuring issues in the global communities. What is important is to make the connection among everyday life choices and human trafficking that hides behind those choices, and the climate change that hides behind those choices, because it is us that can change the world. We have the power, we are the demand. Another very important issue is the migration issue that we are all living. And from my own experience, what I've seen is that the people that come in SOFA, the tailors that come in SOFA to work, when I ask them from what age they've been working, they say from the age of 6 and from the age of 7. So you understand that these people had nothing to lose in order to walk from Afghanistan to Europe. They have mobile phones, Facebook, like all of us, so they can see the lives that we're living. And of course, they will ask to have the same life. So to me, it's very important to make the connection among everyday life choices, in garments, in food, in anything that we consume, and these people, and to actually grant them and fight for them to live in their own countries with decency. And in that way, I think this is the only solution to the big migration issue that is going to get worse due to climate change. So I believe in the power of the individual and in changing the way that we live, each one of us.
So with that power, I'm sorry, but we're running out of time and we don't have time for questions from the audience now, but I encourage all of you to continue asking and participating in the platform. You can reach out to the panelists or to myself, and we can have a side event or a side debate on some of these questions. And thank you, Fiori, Jose Mari, Jack. It is always wonderful to learn from you and from your wisdom. Thank you for sharing it with us. And now we go to break time. We have a 3-minute entertainment break for all of you to decompress and come back again. Thank you.